Well, welcome back, everybody. This is episode 5 of Man Without a Title. This episode is called Blood Isn't Always Peace. And today, I want to get real and get into a topic that is going to be uncomfortable, not going to be easy to talk about, and let's just be honest, it's a very, very sensitive subject. And it's been a long time coming, and if you follow my storyline, um, you know, I've been progressing from, who I am to change and things I've done and all that. But this episode, I'm calling it Blood Isn't Always Peace. And this one, this is a really difficult one for me. Um, and just bear with me. So um, I know that the choices I've made over my life were wrong. They were shameful. They were embarrassing. Most of all, the whole time I knew better, right? But I knew they were dishonoring. And of all the stupid stuff I did, I mean, all of us have done stupid stuff. Yes, all of us. I'm here to talk about me. Okay? So here's where it gets a little personal for me. My bad choices, right? It didn't just affect me. Um, they dishonored my family. They dishonored the name my father gave me. Um, they dishonored the people who raised me, and I knew better. Um, they dishonored my wife. I made some choices that hurt my wife. Um, she stood by me when I didn't deserve it. They dishonored my children who were watching me, even when I thought they weren't watching me. And I live with that shame of what I put the kids through, and I hope in time they can forgive me. Um, and I mean, the biggest one for me is, the choices I made to dishonor the name I was so honorably given. Um, my father, his father, they worked hard for that name, to build that name, to build an honorable name. They built it, and with hard work, determination, sweat, consistency, sacrifices. I mean, everything that my papu did, um, rolled over into my dad, and my dad working his butt off and giving us the life that he wanted us to have, and we're lucky enough that he did his best and he went above and beyond. Um, and here I am, taking his name and running through the mud, and it's not easy, you know. But remember, it's not perfection either. They didn't build it by being perfect, but they built it on integrity. And I took that name into places that it didn't belong. That realization, and for me to think on that, it humbles me. And I'm not going to get preachy here, but Exodus 20:12, honor your father and mother, and I wasn't doing that. Um, but you got to remember that verse isn't just for obedience; it's also for representation of that name of your father. So who I am is a represent. I represent my father. So when I go places, I didn't think about that. I didn't remember anything I do. You know, it's gonna affect him. Gonna affect my mom. Gonna affect my sisters, my brothers, my cousins, and all that. And I didn't represent that very well. I'm shameful. I'm remorseful for that. Um, and it hurts. And like, oh, they love me. Everything will be fine. Well, I used to think that I would recover everything. It would just be okay because they love me. I'm their son. I'm their brother. I'm their cousin. But it reminded me real quick That forgiveness doesn't mean instant restoration, instant everything's going to be okay, instant, okay, it's behind us now. Nope. Restoration takes time. Rebuilding of relationships takes time. It takes behavioral changes. Sometimes it takes sitting with that damages you caused, dealing with it, facing it, and not running away from it, right? And for me, that's what I did for years. I ran away from it. Like I told you guys in a couple episodes before, I used to run a lot. Like this city, that city, I'd leave here, I'd move here, I'd do this, I'd do that. I just run from my screw ups, my, you know, mistakes and all of that. And by doing that, I wasn't making it any better. Um, I was making everything worse. And I was doing more damage to everybody around me in every situation that if I would have just faced it head on and just dealt with it, I didn't it didn't have to get to that. Right. But I was a coward. I couldn't face my own transgressions. I didn't want to face them because I knew if I faced them, then I had to deal with them. I don't want to deal with them. Okay, fine, I'll just walk down, bye, forget about it. But what I forgot is when I realized the damage, I never stopped, right? I kept going and going and going until I finally hit a wall and I knew I had to change. And that's when I had to stop, let the old me die and let the new me be reborn. And a big thing in my mind is, the way I live and the problems I caused and the things that I did, it doesn't just affect me and my generation. It touches generations before and after. So my dad's family heard about the stuff I did and it embarrassed him, and my kids know of some stuff that I did, and they're embarrassed that I did that. That's my dad. Yeah, it doesn't just affect you and your generation. It affects generations to come and generations before you. And I didn't think about none of that. None. And now I have to sit down and face it. And it's not easy at all. Um, I think about different stories in my life just to give you guys an idea. When I was younger, I was a young father. And like I said, I was a child raising a child. I didn't know what I was doing. And I would choose partying over getting my boys, my kids. And I was supposed to have them on the weekend. I didn't want to. I'd rather go to the bar and hang out with my buddies, get drunk, get drugs, find a broad to go home with, whatever. Um, Sickening. I mean, just shameful. And I look back as that as time wasted for my discretion, my horrible person I used to be. Now I cherish every moment I get with my kids. I didn't get to see them this New Year's, and it broke my heart. I had to call them and tell them, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to come see you," and it wasn't easy to say. I miss them, and I'm mad at myself because all the time that I wasted when they was younger, I could have had more memories, could have more time with them. Now that I'm at a point to where I want to spend every moment with them, but I can't. They're grown ups, and they're men now, and they have jobs. And my other son, he's in high school, and but I can't see them the way I used to, and it hurts that I wasted so much of my time when I should have been cherishing it instead of running from it. And again, it's hard, and not just my kids. I mean, you know, it's hard. I see a conversation, I see a look from my wife, and a moment with my kids. And I just think, man, that's when I learned something important right there is, you know, true repentance isn't just saying, oh, Tasha, Michael, I'm sorry. Hey, Megan, I'm sorry. No, true repentance is living in a way that restores honor, and it's not gonna be instant or overnight. It takes time. Another prison that I'm always working in and dealing with in the family aspect of it. Okay, outside of my kids, but I'm gonna go further into my personal family. You know, there's this silent killer, if you want to call it. Um, and as much as everyone don't want to admit it, it is jealousy and envy. Um, they don't just live in other people's life. You say, ah, that don't happen in my family's perfect. No, no, it, you know, it's not it at all. Um, they live that jealousy, that envy. It destroys. And not to keep learning, Bible and verses and everything, but I mean, I think a perfect one for this. I mean, James 3:16. For where you have envy and selfish ambitions, there you find disorder and every evil practice. And jealousy. See, the thing about jealousy is not quiet. It's not always quiet. It's not always sneaking around. And it doesn't always scream. It could be a whisper, and it could be a yell. And the old wounds mixed with the disappointment that it created in my family was distance. So for me, that was a big thing for me. I would always wonder, why aren't they answering? Why don't they want me to come over? Why don't my dad want me to work for him? Or why don't my dad want me to come back? Or, why isn't he talking to me? Or, why won't they let me in their house? And if I'm in their house, they don't leave me out of their sight. Well, I knew the answer back then. I just didn't want to face it. I knew they didn't trust me. I knew they didn't know what I was becoming, and they had to be careful. And, that was hard for me. But sometimes the people that are struggling with you, who was and who are becoming a little bit easier and a little bit, let me rephrase that here. The Sometimes the people closest to you struggle, so they struggle with you, right? They struggle with you and who you was and who you were becoming, because the thing that I did and the way that I used to be is still fresh in their mind, and they remember the old me, right? So by them remembering the old me, it's not going to be overnight. Yeah, everything's fine. No, it's going to take work. It's going to take a lot of patience. That's the easiest way to say it. And letting God intervene and help me mend the fences that I've broken. Um, and there's a thing that always used to pop in my mind. I used to joke about it and say this, and people used to, but it's that label, the black sheep, and the separation that comes with that. Even though I joked about it, I knew I was. I felt like it. And for me, I always had the feeling like I was the black sheep, and always feeling like the black sheep can make you question your worth, right? Um, am I good enough? Will they forgive me? Will they ever let me back in 100%? Um, through Christ, yes. And again, I'm not sure where at in the Bible, but I know the verse. You know, the stones that the builders rejected. He said they became the cornerstone. Um, so maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe that was all a before picture of what he's going to do with me later. Maybe not. I don't know. But I have to be able to put the work into it. And the, the ups and downs of it is going to be hard. But the people may remember who I was, right? But the big thing that I have to comfort my soul with is God sees who I'm becoming, right? And to bring this into context, I guess you could say, I'm going to, bear with me here, I'm going to read a verse. And um, it's uh, Matthew 10, 34. And he's actually talking to his disciples right now. And he's preparing them to send them out to preach his word. And he went to them and said, I did not bring, I did not come to bring peace on this earth this first time around. I came to bring a sword. Now listen close. The sword of separation between those who are for me and those who are against me. Even the people that got your last name. Okay? That there's the same blood type, you know, that are much stronger than you and your biblical blood. Um, and they say they're your sister and they're your brother, but are they your sister and brother you're thinking of? No. They are, they don't need a blood test that came from your DNA. They don't want the blood from your DNA, right? They want the blood from the cross. And that's what we're talking about. Christ's sword, that is spiritual family of believers above the biological family. So when I was living in sin, my father, my mother, my sisters, my brothers, they all separated themselves from me. But all they were doing was obeying the words of Jesus and what came out of his mouth. And at the time, I thought it was mean. I thought, how could they just separate from me with blood, with family? But in reality, I was the result of it was the result of my wicked life. And that led me to the place that made them make that decision to separate from me, to separate themselves from me. And I mean, shame on me for putting them in a situation that they had to make that decision. And the hardest thing for me is thinking about my father having to make that decision and having to have him deal with having to do that. I mean, son, can't be hard. I know it would devastate me if I ever had to do that to my boys. And that's a decision no father ever wants to make, right? But he did. And that's, again, the consequences of my actions. But when it came down to it, my dad is a very, very, very godly man. And I know in his heart it wasn't easy. But he will always choose faith in Christ over anything else. And because in that pyramid, God comes first, and then family, and then everything else. And for him to have to cut me off, cut me back, cut me away, it hurts me to know that I had to make him make that choice. And now it's time for me to make it, make a better go at it, and start finding a better me so she could be in a better place, and finding a better me and myself. The peace that I'm going to find doesn't come from pretending, it comes from humility. right? And I have to be humble. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Man, humility means waiting, serving without any praise, any recognition, rebuilding trust slowly. And sometimes, oh boy, it'll take longer than what you want. Trust me. You think, like that, it's going to be good. No, you're building block after block after block because you tore it down. Now you have to build it back up, right? So it takes 40, 50 years for a tree to grow. I can cut it down in 30 seconds with a chainsaw. That's the same thing with trust. I have to plant the seed, and I have to let my tree grow. And then through my trees, I will bear fruit. And by them fruits, they will see who I am becoming instead of who I was, right? But obedience, like I said, always matters. And blood, blood doesn't always mean peace, trust me. But honor does. Honor brings peace. God brings peace. Even when you're dealing with relationships that are still healing. But I find comfort in the Lord, and I try to seek Him and pray for His help to get me through this and to help me through this. I have dishonored people I love, but I have not been disqualified to become the person I know I can be and I want to be. But I have to take responsibility, right? That's a big thing. And like I said before, no one wants to take responsibility. Everyone wants the easy way out. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. They did it. They made me do it. Oh, nope. Stop. I did it. I made my family feel that way towards me. I made my dad feel that way towards me. I made my wife feel that way. I made them not trust me. I made them I made them uncomfortable with me. But I have to take responsibility and I have to start restoring it. See, restoration starts with truth. And with that truth comes freedom, you know? And my heart breaks for some of the stuff that I've had to face and I've had to remember and I've had to deal with and the pain that I've caused people. And in time they'll know I'm sorry. And I hope I hope I can be the brother, be the son, the cousin, the nephew that I know I should have been years ago. And through hard work, responsibility, and seeking after him, I'm determined to get there. So this is Man Without a Title. And purpose doesn't have to come from approval, guys. It comes from obedience. So until next time, this is Blood Isn't Always Peace. And I thank you guys for watching. And if you like it, please comment, um, share, like. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up, whatever. Everything's in my bio. So God bless. Have a good day. Thank you for listening.